very nice to have you with us. If you've not seen Premier League tonight before, it's a bit more relaxed. We'll sit, we'll have a conversation. We're here for the next 45 minutes. Rio's been asking for beers during the ad break.
Yes.
Should we try and sort that out for next Thursday?
Yeah,
What do you mean?
demanding it.
I was like, yeah, I might not even be here. What do you mean? What's the point?
We're here next Thursday.
Oh, you two all right then?
Fine. We're all right next Thursday. If you want to join in the conversation, use hashtag PL tonight. And what a night it has been, actually. We've had a busy few days here on BT Sport. It ended with a cracker, but this is what we've brought you over the past 52 odd hours.
How long do you have to hang on? You need to leave our football club.
West Ham just keep on winning 6 in a row.
Up to fourth in the Premier League. Massive, massive well done. David Moyes, superb. Long may it continue.
And Saka, a very satisfying night for Arsenal. Mesmeric, Pep Guardiola and Manchester City have hit the top again.
Playing football from a different planet at the moment.
There have been quite a few new eras at Chelsea. Another one starting tonight.
Very disappointed for Tuchel's first game in charge. I wasted 2 hours of my night watching that drops.
Turnaround has been from Burnley. Top entertainment at Turf Moor. Big chance. What a cross off the line. And a screamer by James Rodriguez, and he's done it again. Leicester City level through Yuri Taylor-Moss. It's the short result of the Premier League season.
I still can't believe what I've just seen. I'm so proud of the boys tonight.
Firmino coming in, and there's the goal. Trent Alexander-Arnold with his first goal of the season for Liverpool. Mane, oh yes. Finished off by Sadio Mane brilliantly.
A busy but brilliant 3 nights of football here on BT Sport. Let's hear from the Spurs boss, Jose Mourinho. Not happy, neither are Spurs fans. THFC Jack says, first time I've stopped watching Spurs early. Mourinho will win trophies, but he won't do it with these players. Adam Simpson says, questions for Premier League tonight. If you want to send in a question for us, hashtag PL tonight. Why bring Bale to the club? Why leave Vinicius on the bench when Kane goes off and bring Lamella on? Why is our best defender, Toby Alderweireld, not playing in such a big game? Why play a right wing back at left wing back? How can you only play 2 central midfielders against Liverpool? He's asking a lot more about the manager than the individual errors this evening. The stock investor says, sum up that Tottenham performance in 3 words, not good enough. We have to remind ourselves, Jermaine, Liverpool were the team with the patched up defence this evening, not Spurs.
Yeah, and they didn't look like that. I think that's one of the biggest compliments you can give to this Liverpool side today. I think the forward 3 will get the kind of plaudits, and a lot of things will be spoken about because they haven't scored for so long, and at times they look back to their best. But you know, even when Nat Phillips came onto the pitch in the second half, you kind of looked at it and went, you know, he looks pretty solid back there. They almost got stronger.
Yeah.
So yeah, the defensive unit that Spurs had out there, you know, individually, you know, me and Crouchy were talking, are they good enough? They're not good enough to win a title, I wouldn't say. But they're better than what they've shown today. They're much better than the mistakes that they gave up in the game today. So that would be Jose's biggest disappointment, along with the fact that I think the changes that he made at half-time had 0 impact on the game. If anything, they got worse. And you'd probably argue, well, Kane's gone off and so on and so forth, but you would still expect a better reaction from the players that came on. Lamella was non-existent, really, when he came on. So food for thought. I think he nailed it at the end of the interview. You make big mistakes in games like that, you've got no chance. I don't think you can land too much of that at Jose's door. So I know the fans are upset about our midfield and this player and that player, but if you make mistakes, you're going to lose games.
This Harry Kane one is interesting and potentially far-reaching for them. He's going to be out for a few weeks, is what we've been told. How long is a few weeks? Who knows? But the concern in the second half is how impotent they look without him on the pitch, and it's another ankle injury. That's probably 4 in the last 4 years for him.
Yeah, I mean, their injuries are a worry, a concern. I think every season, really, he seems to pick up some sort of injury. And it's even more remarkable in terms of the amount of goals that this fella gets. But
yeah, well,
I mean,
68% of the goals for them this season, he's either scored or assisted.
He's got 19 goals, 14 assists, and I think, like, listen, his impact on his team will not be undervalued because of the impact he has, because he's a fantastic footballer and they are going to miss him. And we talk about Liverpool missing Van Dijk. He will be the equivalent, definitely, of that in the Spurs team.
Well, we've also got, still at the game for us, we've got Maka and Glenn there for us. Guys, we're just talking about the subs that Jose made this evening and the fact that Kane might be out for a while. Has he got the answer to the Harry Kane problem in the squad, do you think, Glenn?
Well, I was surprised that Vinicius wasn't brought on. I've got to say, that would be the reason why you would have brought him to the club. You know, for a little bit of cover from Kane. He's done reasonably well in Europa since he's been here in the cup games, but I think it was a chance for him, and he put Lamela on and put Son down the middle, which I was scratching my head on that one, because Son doesn't play so well down the middle. He likes to play from out to in. You know, with his back to play, he just didn't get him in the game second half. So, yeah, I was very surprised to see that. I thought that's the reason why Vinicius came to the club.
There's lots of people getting in touch from the Liverpool perspective, Macca. Chris has said big performance, big win, big confidence booster, and hopefully a big momentum shifter. I'm a big fan of Jordan Henderson being the best new centre-back in the world. Maybe try and get another one in on loan, up the champions. Do you think that a result like this maybe makes them think twice about going for someone? Do you think they've got the answers at the back in that squad?
No. Sorry to bust in there, Jake. No, I don't think, regardless of this result, I think 3 weeks ago they thought about bringing in a centre defender. I think when the transfer window opened, they wanted to bring in a centre defender because only Liverpool know how long-term Virgil van Dijk and Joe Gomez are going to be. And we know that Joel Matip's had injury problems. We know Fabinho's had injury problems this year, but we know Joel Matip in particular, he went off again with an injury. How fragile he's been of late. So I think it's always been on the cards that they need and wanted a centre defender. They want someone with a bit of experience because Nat Phillips and Reece Williams probably haven't got that certain amount of experience yet at this level if you want to challenge to win the Premier League and go on and challenge in the Champions League. And I certainly think they need to bring somebody in. I really do. I think it might be, you know, those you might lose points without bringing some people in, and if you have that same level of inconsistency, you know, imagine Liverpool finishing out of the Champions League spots because they haven't brought in a centre defender. Listen, we all hope Liverpool do very, very well, of course. But I'm thinking worst case scenario, and the worst case scenario is if the league stopped before this game and they finished fifth out of the Champions League, and they lost a significant amount of money, then you'd be ruining the chance that they never brought in a centre defender. Now, even somebody on loan, just somebody with a bit of experience, with a bit of Premier League nous, just to help them along. It's not going to be this stopgap for a number of years, but they need help, those players.
Interesting. Look, I know it's raining and you've got a long journey home, particularly you, Macca. We'll let you get away. Thank you very much, guys. Interesting point you made about the centre-half situation. And it's actually what you guys said in here beforehand. This isn't about finding a long-term 5-6 year answer at centre-half. This is about a short-term fix, someone who isn't playing football who can come in and just do a job. You still feel that that's required after tonight?
I think even more so now that Matip's kind of hobbled off the pitch. You know, I was trying to find an argument for Jurgen Klopp when we had this discussion before as to maybe why he was just holding back on it. But Matip he's fallen into that bracket now that you can't rely on him. He's not putting together the run of games that you would want from a centre-half, so they have to go into the market, to get that cover. If
Jurgen Klopp's not banging down the door of the owner, of the people that make the decisions financially at this football club, I'll be amazed. I think that it's a huge gamble. If they don't invest either to purchase a centre-back or get one on loan, the potential that it could derail their season, because it is I think it's that important for this team. Like we said before in the build-up to the game, not having these centre-backs in place, it doesn't only affect the centre-back area, but you're taking players out of the midfield area who are integral to this team's success over the last couple of years, putting them into the back line, leaving it a weaker situation in the centre of midfield as well.
Can we talk about the Gareth Bale situation? I mean, again, it's a night where it's a big game and he doesn't start. We've seen him coming on and not impacting games as much as perhaps we would expect. How do you see this playing out now over the next few months?
Yeah, you do worry for him, don't you? I think he's come here and it was a lot of expectation and big things from Real Madrid, and he's just I don't know what's been happening, but he can't be doing it in training. I think Mourinho, similar to the fact that Ndombele, he didn't trust him last season. I don't think he trusts Bale in the big games. I think he's playing him in the Europa and the FA Cup games, but he has hardly had a run in the Premier League, and he's gone with the front three. Has been fantastic, but leaving it so late to bring him on, and Vinicius as well. I'm not quite sure. I have to agree with Glenn. I'm sure why he didn't get a run out tonight.
We were so excited, though. I think all of us would say the same thing. Everyone was. When you hear Bale's coming to the Premier League, it's like, thank goodness for that. He's coming back. Let's see what he's got. What he's done on the big stage and the biggest moments, Champions League finals for Real Madrid, getting his hands on that trophy so many times, and you think he's going to bring all that experience back here. It just hasn't materialised. It's so disappointing.
Is it not there anymore?
I don't know. I think we have to wait for. We're probably going to have to wait till when he eventually goes back to Real Madrid, and Jose Mourinho maybe opens
It's
up there.
inevitable now.
I think he's going to have to do some big things.
I think it's really difficult from our point of view because, you know, we're kind of speculating on maybe how he's feeling. I think from the outside, you know, is the hunger still there? Is a question that I see when he's on the pitch. Or his legs still there in terms of, you know, that pace, that blistering pace? Is he too worried about all of the injuries that he's accumulated over the years? All of these things will be a factor. But I honestly felt like with the European Championships coming at the end of the year that he would be wanting to go into that for Wales flying, full of confidence. And I thought that would have been a big momentum kind of thing to gear him up and get him going this year. But maybe just the sitting on the bench, coming on for 10 minutes, sitting on the bench, coming on for 10 minutes thing has just made him go, you know what,
You're him,
I'm not here for this.
If you're him, are you sitting there going, I've come here to play, what's going on? I'm Gareth Bale. Look what I've done.
Has he got the sort of desire to say that? Is he happy sitting on the bench?
That's what I'm saying. I think that's the issue, isn't it? And
Can't be.
I don't think he'll be happy to sit on the bench, but he's also with a manager that is not going to accept anything less than what he needs to win titles at this football club. And he's obviously seeing something in training in Gareth that's making him go, I don't quite trust you in these types of games. And by the way, it's the same for Vinicius. Vinicius, in my opinion, I'm still yet to see it.
I've not seen it.
I'm still yet to see it. I kind of understand why Jose didn't bring him on the pitch today, because, again, he's obviously seeing something in training that's making him think, you are not showing me any kind of... You might get there, but in terms of players coming on, like Mora would be first. There's a lot of players that I would bring on.
But he had his audition the other day. He played against Wickham.
Oh, Wickham, sorry.
The other day.
Didn't get a kick.
He didn't get a kick in that game either, so he can't be sitting there saying, hold on a minute, I come on and play. But Gareth Bale, I think that'd be a
The
different...
Bale situation is difficult because we played with him when it was unbelievable.
outrageous,
He's gone to Real Madrid and won everything. So everyone was so excited. So it's so bizarre just to see him left on the bench.
Here's an interesting one because Glenn said this, I'm surprised he's not up to speed yet. I keep on hearing Spurs fans saying, Gareth will soon find his form again. When Gareth's back, when he's been back here as long as he has been and he's recovered from the injury that he came with, you all know the way this works. If he hasn't found form now, is he going to find it? Particularly if he's not playing. You know, what changes between now and the end of the season?
I think it's hard because I think one of the things he would have come here thinking, the manager's got confidence in me because he wants me here. I won't be here otherwise. But obviously now he's on the bench all the time and it's continued. He'll be then doubting whether the manager has belief in him. I don't care what level of player you are, what you've done, that is sapping of your confidence. And so he's in a position, I think he's coming on the pitch. He looks like he's lacking confidence with me at the moment.
I think, during the time that me and Crouchy were with him, and, times Rio would have played against him, and we played in a team where the whole thing was about Gaz, wasn't it? I mean, you just, I'd be on the ball and all you could hear was pass it to Gareth, whoever was on the touchline, it was pass it to Gareth. And he had that confidence and walking into a team of, I'm the man, give me the ball, and he built it and he delivered and delivered year after year. And he's come back to a team, that's got Kane, that's got Son, that are delivering as well. My hope was that he was going to walk through the door, trophies in hand, very much like, I'm going to show you lot how to do it type thing, that type of mentality. Follow me. A bit like what I suppose Ronaldo does, when he goes to different clubs and you hear players talking about his mentality and the way that he trains and so on and so forth. My hope was that Gaz was going to come back to Spurs with all that experience of what he's learned at one of the biggest clubs in world football and try and get that into this team. And I'm not seeing it, unfortunately, but that is, the personal stuff around Gareth's life that we don't know about.
Mentality or ability, whether he's lost what he had a bit.
He went through a real tough time at Spurs at one stage, didn't he? I think he was going to get sold to Nottingham Forest, wasn't he? And he couldn't buy a win. He was playing as a left back, and he sort of overcame that. And then he's become the most decorated player that's ever gone abroad. And he come back with all that expectation on his shoulders, and for whatever reason, be it fitness, be it lack of form, be it lack of desire that's been thrown at him, it's just not working out at the moment.
Okay, we're going to take a break. Do we see a different Gareth Bale though if there's fans here?
I believe so, yeah. I believe
Feels
so.
like that, doesn't it?
Some people play to entertain an audience. He seems like he's one of them.
Okay, well, talking of entertaining an audience, we're going to talk after the break about players who've single-handedly come in and changed a football club. These three have been thinking about who they're going to discuss. What about from you? Get involved in the conversation this evening. #PL Tonight. We're live till 11 o'clock. See you in a couple of minutes. hashtag PL Tonight to join in the conversation this evening. Harry's got in touch, HJ Booker, to say, I've just seen Martin Skirtle's a free agent. What do you think? Eh?
I haven't seen him play for a while, but he was an animal when he did play.
He would only be about 35, 36.
Yeah, I mean, what a defender.
And Declan says, it's not a question, but tell Rio to smile. Are you feeling a bit grumpy? No. Just thinking about the beer, that's the problem.
Look to the table again, I know.
It'll be all right. Maybe it's a little counselling session. You're still confident, though. In all seriousness, you don't think this week's derailed Man United's title bid?
No, it's a blip. I said that on social media.
So what a blip.
We're going to talk about players who've come in and changed the club almost single-handedly. Obviously, the inspiration for this is Bruno Fernandes, who's done that at Manchester United since he arrived. When you three look back on your careers, who were the dressing rooms you shared, the pitches you shared, the players you spent time with, where you were either at the club with them and they were changing things, or they arrived while you were there and they made a big impact?
I think when I was at Newcastle already and I'd arrived, I think Shearer was, an obvious candidate in terms of the person that had probably the biggest impact on a football club. I kind of got the latter stages of his career, but still kind of felt that, I suppose, that leadership, that responsibility on the pitch, and kind of being a young player around players like him, Gary Speed was big. But I think in terms of a player that really, I suppose, took off, I think Bale was the one for me. Watching Gaz do what he did in those early years at Tottenham when he was in the Champions League, I think really transcended the club from into a different place. Really.
What about that game there?
Well, that's the game that we all think about as fans. I wonder whether, as sort of teammates, it's like something different that you noticed. Obviously, did things change in training? I guess before. Yeah.
He literally. I remember one summer where he went away like a kid, and he came back like an absolute beast. Like, legs were twice the size, upper body's twice the size. We're doing running sessions, and I remember me and Aaron Lennon was like two of the best runners in the team, and we was doing these 800-meter runs, and you're all stagnated at different places, and we kind of took off. He took off flying, and he was a good runner, and he's going round, and I'm watching Gaz, and I'm thinking he's going to catch you, and he's like, it must be started like 200-300 meters back. It was ridiculous, like half a lap, and he's just took him. Over 800 metres, he basically just took him, and I was just like, Who is this kid?
What do you think changed there?
Watching his rise was phenomenal, because he went from like a left back to this winger, and the pace was just phenomenal. And I was playing up front. I had Lennon one side and Bell the other, and all I had to do was keep up. And I was getting tap-ins, certainly in the Champions League. What he did, he scored a hat-trick away.
That was a game.
In the San Siro, and then when we got them back to White Hart Lane, what he did to Mike on that, who was a top defender, what he did to Mike on that night was.
So was there a mindset change, do you think, or did someone get into
confidence?
Is that what it was?
It was confidence.
Harry made him take that clip out of his hair. I think that was it.
Yeah. You say that, but there was definitely like some sort of mental. Remember, he kept going down in training.
Yeah,
Harry used to say to him, like, leave him, because the trainer kept coming on every day, and it was like making sure he was all right. And Harry sort of said to him, like, just leave him. And
he kind of forced him to do things in a weird way. When I said before about get Gareth the ball, I mean, like, it was relentless. I remember I think the first game we had in the Champions League against Werder Bremen away, and I'm giving him this ball, and the pitch was really heavy, and I looked at him one time, and he's like, he looked like he's gone, and then Harry's just still give him the ball, because he's like that Maicon night. He's destroying this fullback. He just kept giving it him, and it's like he just developed this superhuman fitness about himself, where he could do things at a higher intensity than any other player at that particular time.
And he was running back just as fast. He was doing that to Maicon, then running back just as fast. It was phenomenal.
Yeah. And weirdly, when you talk about impacts on a club, that hat-trick in the San Siro took a football club from thinking, we're happy to be in the Champions League, to hang on a minute. Like, when they came back to White Hart Lane, we were like, we'll beat this lot, no problem. And they won the Champions League the year before, I think. So that was him that night in the San Siro, grabbing a football club and going, come on, we're better and bigger than this. Let's go and do it.
You know what I really like about that, Rio? It wasn't that someone got into him and changed the way he was training or working or changed something tactically. It was a mindset change, and this shows the power of it.
Yeah, it does.
Love it. What about for you?
Good luck.
So
so glad I went. That's
Follow
one of the
that.
best.
Should we just go to the break?
The best player in the world.
We've got to take a break. We'll carry on the conversation in just a second. Bad news though coming out of Liverpool. Jurgen Klopp confirms that Matip has ankle ligament damage. I mean, they're going for another defender now, aren't they?
He has to, surely.
Has to. We're going to take a break. See you in a couple of moments. Welcome back. Thanks so much for your comments and questions that are coming in. We're talking about players who've had an impact in the careers that these three have had. I was so interested when you said about you found yourself almost trying to impress Steven as much as you were trying to impress the manager. The impact that these players have, it's not just about them coming in and being better players on the pitch. I'm really interested in how they lift the mood of those around them at the football club. I guess you get into you get stuck in your ways, you go through the motions at a football club. When a player like a Ronaldo comes in, it has to lift everyone, right? You have to respond.
Yeah, it does. It definitely the standard of the player sometimes. That's why Ferguson was so good in that sense. Every year he tried to find a player that would then lift the standard of everyone, so it doesn't stagnate and stay at that level when everyone gets comfortable.
Yeah.
But also you've got other ways of doing it. Roy Keane was a great example. He demanded a certain standard of players on a daily basis. If the standards dropped for a couple of days, he'd call a meeting.
So who set the standards then at your clubs? The players or the managers?
Well, with us, it was the players.
Was it?
Yeah, you had a group of players that would set the standards if the people were later, etc., and they'd govern the training ground and all of the timekeeping, etc., and the standards on the pitch or in the gym. Why aren't players going? Why are you going in the gym? Why are you doing extras? Why are you working on your left foot or your weaknesses, etc.? Would ask them questions through either straight like that or through banter. But it's very I think there's different ways to lead. Stevie's one way, very quiet through performance. Vidic was very much like that. But someone like Roy Keane was quite vocal.
It's a manager's dream, isn't it? If you've got people like that, Man United dressing room, you think about like Gary Neville, Paul Scholes, like yourself, Roy Keane. People, if a dressing room polices itself, it's a breath of fresh air for the manager, isn't it? Just let you carry on. On the reverse side of that, if you've got a negative dressing room, it's a nightmare for a manager.
When I arrived at Spurs, we had a very young team at the time, but it was like we had good players within that team. Our midfield was myself, Michael Carrick, Edgar Davids at the time. We had a young Aaron Lennon in the team, but there was a lot of inexperience in there, and it's interesting to hear what Rio was saying, and that's why those teams are so great. So we were obviously going for the breaking into the Champions League for the first time, but finishing above Arsenal for that particular year. And I remember it got to a stage in the end, Edgar Davids just called like a meeting on it everywhere. And the first thing is kind of in those types of teams is like, oh, how busy is this guy here? Like, what, he wants a meeting or whatever. And we sat there and he just went, what do you want? What do you want? He was basically saying, look, I've won everything. I don't need to be here. I've won everything. But what do you lot want? Do you want to get into Champions League? Do you want to achieve something? Because if you do, you need to start doing X, Y, and Z. And even then, it took a while to sit in. But we walked out, there's a few mumbles of, God, he's busy this, he's busy that. And then all of a sudden, it's hit you. And you went, no, that's why he's achieved what he's achieved in the game. And imagine having 10 of them, which is what they had at United. We had Edgar Davids with that experience, but not many of us at that particular time, until I saw Edgar do something like that. Later on, then Kino would kind of get involved. When we had Rafa a bit later, there was enough of us that would be upset about things and nip things in the bud as time went on in my career.
But that's why you need experience, and experience counts for so much. I mean, I went to Man United and had them on a thing, but I'm in a change room full of people that have got multiple Premier League titles, Champions Leagues, etc. And there comes a time during a season when there's a crossroad where it's like you lose a game, which is a huge stakes game at that moment in the season, but mentally, do you recover? How do you recover? How do you take it? Do you let that game? Is it a hangover from that game after it finishes? And Gary Neville was very good at it. In that you lose a game, and I would always be very down on myself and morbid, no smiling, or especially at the beginning. But then he would come in on a Monday and be laughing sometimes. The game's gone, right, Tuesday, move on in that. And we're still thinking about the game and the hangover of that. Well, that can affect this Tuesday game if you carry on like that. And it's really good, the experience of being able to snap out of a situation quickly, analyse it quickly, move on.
So you all played at the top level and you all played a little bit further down the football pyramid. What would you say is the difference between an elite dressing room and a dressing room, a division or a couple of divisions?
I personally think the details,
right?
The minute details, even something as little as lateness, discipline. I think during our time, the use of phones was it was one of them. You know, you weren't supposed to use them in certain places, but people would try and get away with it. When you policed that, and even you got the little things right, then the big things take care of themselves. But you know, I know during my time, right at the end of my career at QPR, and Rio will be able to vouch for this, it was a bit of a shambles. It's like people do whatever they want, turning up whenever they want, late for this, late for that, and the respect's not there then within the group. But obviously, you know, when you're at the top clubs or you're playing for your national team, those things are not accepted because there's so many good players here to take your place.
I think it was training for me was the difference. I think when I was playing for Liverpool in the Champions League and I was playing for England, I was nervous. Not so much nervous, but on my toes in every training session. So in every training session, I wanted to impress not just my teammates, but obviously the manager, anyone who was watching, not just to stay in the team, but so I didn't upset some of the senior professionals or the people that are going to ask proper questions of me. And I think, obviously, when I played lower down, I never went on a training pitch and thought, if I have a bad one, it doesn't really matter. And I think they're the differences between the top and the, not quite at the top.
I think maintaining good habits consistently is huge. I think if you don't, the bad habits will rear their head in the 90 minutes you play on a weekend.
Very good. We've had one final question here. This one says, Canterbury Gunner, Rio, would you sign for Liverpool on a short 6-month deal right now if it meant you had a chance to win some trophies?
No.
And on that note, finish the show. Just a reminder, we're back at the weekend. We've got 2 games for you. We get going Everton, Newcastle on Saturday. We've also got a game for you on Sunday at 11:30 as well. Chelsea against Burnley. Gentlemen, thank you for your company. See you next Thursday for Premier League tonight. We'll finish with you and your half-term reports. Good night.
So it's half time in Leeds' season. I think all of us would have taken 26 points at this stage. We've got the same amount, more points than the other 2 promoted teams combined. Nice cushion from the relegation zone.
Football's been exciting, and it's been a long time since Villa fans have been able to say that. And we're a joy to watch again, and it's creating such an amazing feeling. I'm so gutted we're not there to witness it in the flesh.
The performances have been absolutely diabolical this season. Atrocious. It's suffocating. Fans are becoming now toxic.
This has been superb, and the man who deserves all the praise for this is the man who sits in that manager's seat, David Moyes.
People saying we're in a crisis and calling us relegation candidates, we've picked it up. Arteta's turned it around. The youngsters have been a major contributor to that.
We're top of the league, smashed our Champions League group, through to the All League Cup final, and